Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you guys, we are excited for this evening's broadcast. We're going to be talking about some a really interesting topic, but one that's going to really provoke some thought, make you take a little introspect of yourself and your family and how things are flowing and operating. It's something that over 24 years, not just particularly with us, but in blended families, period, we've seen a lot of it. Not only have we seen a lot of it, but we've heard a lot of it in so many shapes, forms, and fashions. It's just been crazy. But I thought it was just necessary to kind of talk about this right at this present moment because of all that's going on. And unfortunately, this is playing a serious role in a lot of the blended families in today's time. And so we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive right into it. And we're going to invite you to come on board with this, man. Listen, if you got something that you want to say about this particular topic, about this particular subject, feel free to chime in because each and every one of us can identify in some shape, form, or fashion about this particular topic. And so tonight we're going to be talking about jealousy in the blended family. We're going to be talking about jealousy in the blended family. And man, that is a huge topic. You have really no idea the span, the coverage, the scope that jealousy covers in the blended family. I'm talking about from mothers and fathers to daughters and sons to aunties and uncles and grandparents and you name it.
Children.
I said daughters and sons.
Children. Oh, you did?
Yeah,
No.
Grandchildren. It can go grandchildren. I mean, this thing is there's no area that jealousy can't touch, or that jealousy can't reach. And so we're going to be talking about that because there's some specific areas of jealousy that we want to highlight on tonight. And of course, get your feedback, your responses, because I'm telling you, when we start talking about this, you're going to identify. You watching, you listening, you watching via Facebook, StreamYard, YouTube. What's the other ones? The visual ones.
That's it, visual.
And then those that are listening via radio,
WJMS, Stitcher, SoundCloud.
You're going to be that you are going to be able to identify with jealousy in the blended family. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to jump right in this, man. So what's the first one we're going to talk about, babe?
Well, good evening first, everyone. I didn't get a chance to say good evening. So good evening, and thank you all for tuning in. Our first one is children jealous of new spouses or children.
Children jealous of new spouses or children. And before we get into that, let me give you a little bit about my story in jealousy in the blended family. And so, many of you guys heard our story when my wife and I got married. Madeline had 3 daughters and I had a son. Madeline was actively raising her 3 daughters while I was inactively raising my son. He was in Florida. I was in DC at the time. And so, me and his mom had some issues that were irreconcilable. Let me say it that way. And so it was real hard for me to do some of the things that I wanted to do because first of the distance. And then the distance. There were 2 types of distance. There was distance in mileage, and then there were distance in understanding. And so in all of that, I remember me telling my ex-wife, hey, listen, I'm about to get remarried. And this is the path that I'm taking. And immediately the response was, oh, really? I'm like, no, you're not. And I'm like, oh, yes, I am. And it's kind of funny. You think about having that type of conversation with somebody that's trying to tell you they moved on with their life, but telling you can't move on with your life. And so I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is the path I'm taking. And I did it because that was my son's mother. And I knew that him being a part of my life, if he was going to ever spend time with me, you need to know where I'm spending time and how my life is. I just think that's just a respectable thing to do. We don't have to be friends or buddies, but we should be civilized enough to be able to communicate our lifestyle and our living situations. And so I expressed that what I was doing, and man, that thing started a barrage of everything. you name it, I was getting it. And so, but it all stemmed from jealousy. It all stemmed from jealousy. And so out of that, I remember, having conversations with my son here and there, and I could tell from the tone of the conversation, there were certain things that he was hearing that weren't true. There were certain things
and
that
this
he
was later on.
This was later on. Yeah, this was
marriage.
later on. There were certain things that he was hearing that was swaying him or persuading him to believe a certain narrative that was false. And because of that, there were some jealousies that were developing and that were brewing. And man, you let me say this, and I'm sharing this because a lot of you guys that are watching, a lot of you guys that are listening to us are experiencing something of this nature. And it is so important, man. Let me say this. It is so important that you be mature. Yeah. I'm going to tell you one. Now, you guys see my wife. You see it every other Tuesday. You used to see it every Tuesday, but now you see it every other Tuesday. But the girl is fine. 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 And I'm going to tell you something. What was the sexiest thing about my wife to me wasn't that light skin, because that's sexy to me. wasn't that walk, because that's sexy to me. Wasn't that body, because that's sexy to me. What was sexy to me was her maturity in relationship. That was the sexiest thing I could ever see. She showed me, lived out in front of me, how to conduct myself with my ex. I've never, in 24 years, never, ever, did I say never, ever?
Never, ever.
I never, ever seen nor heard my wife argue with her ex. Never. Never seen a heated moment, never seen a heated exchange. I can't say she didn't want to have one, but I never saw it. I can't say she never felt that way, but I
All right, I think we're back, guys. We had internet. Our internet went out. Got a storm going on over here.
So okay.
You know what's going on. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it just generated so much jealousy and animosity and envy in my son because of the things that were projected. But what I was saying about Madeline was I saw her live this thing out in such a way. She always made sure that she never painted the girl's father in a way that would make him look bad. She never painted him in a way that would make him look anything other than what the girls believed that they saw out of him. And so because of that, it made me take a posture and it made me take a position like I don't gotta stoop down to that level. I don't have to act like this person is acting because their response is their responsibility.
Correct.
And it's important, guys, to understand this. Your response is your for your actions, nor your reactions, but you. You're the only one. Why I'm not back up? You're the only one that's responsible for your response. And so, man, she showed me how to respond. She showed me how to act. I'm talking about when things were like, ooh, I can get in the car and go choke somebody. I could take that long drive down 95 and just get it popping. And she just showed me how, you know what? You better than that. You bigger than that. Who cares what they're doing? They got to answer to God for that. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. It is so important, man, to have voices of reason. It is so important to have people in your life that can speak to you in times of difficulty, that can speak to you in times of, I don't know if I'm making up a word, uncomfortability. They can speak to you in times when things are rough, man. I'm talking about when you really don't know what to do, or you do know what to do, but you don't want to do what you know what to do. And so this one here was that voice in my ear. No, we're not going there.
No, I was gonna say, for me, I think it's very important, whether it's relationship with the ex or relationship with children, just relationships, period, or just people, period. I don't like to paint a picture of people, regardless of what I go through with people, or a person, or whatever, what challenges we may have had, or that may be going on, or whatever. I never want to give an opinion of a person to someone else, and they base their opinion upon that person based on what I've said. I think it's very important for people to develop their own opinion of a person, like with the kids. It wasn't always things that I liked that, their dad, did or didn't do. It was just not my place to paint a picture of him negative to them at all.
Now she could have.
I could have, and I could still do. I just never did it. I mean, to me, I don't know. I just don't.
No, but that's maturity, though.
Thing to do.
It's not even about nice, not nice. It's mature.
Well, it's because it's mean when you try to paint a picture of somebody.
No, it's just really immaturity.
Well, yeah, mature
it's
too.
It's really immature.
Yeah.
And so because you have to have an understanding of things. And there was just something that you understood that I knew a lot of people not painting a picture that can be detrimental to someone else.
Absolutely.
Let that child, let that spouse develop their own picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I knew my son's mother. I knew her mindset. I knew how she would respond.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to paint that picture because I knew it wasn't going to be long before she showed us the original. She showed us the Picasso, the Da Vinci. She was going to show it to us. So I didn't have to paint a picture because I knew it wasn't going to be long before Madeline really saw what was what. So didn't me just keep my mouth shut and don't say anything. And so I'm going to tell you something. This thing was so wow. It was terrible. And it's been a struggle his entire life. It's been a struggle. There's some things that he really wanted to do, and even still now really want to do, but it's hard fighting past
the past.
The past. It's hard fighting past the past.
That he've heard
because words have power. Words have power. You guys hear me say this all the time because I'm a scripture guy. The Bible says, when your word goes out, it doesn't come back empty. It has a twofold assignment. Listen, guys, this is important. Your words have a twofold assignment. They're going to accomplish what you please, and they're going to prosper in the areas that you send them. Mm-hmm. And so don't think you're just saying stuff because you're trying to get back. You're trying to get some get back. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Or you mad. Or you trying to hurt somebody. Or you miserable because you made a choice and they moved on and their life better than you think yours is. But guess what? Your life can be better right now. All it takes is a choice. All it takes is a choice to change your attitude, change your position and posture, and your life will be better. It'll be better. And so you got to understand those words that you're spewing out of your mouth, that you're telling your children, that you're telling your family, you're going to have to give an account for that because those words are going to do more than you think they're going to do. You might just think it's starting something right now or it's accomplished something right now, but guess what? People don't move past stuff. I remember this years when I was a little boy, and my mama used to say, listen, what goes on in your house, stay in your house. Now, people hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I never really, for some people, it means certain things.
Right.
But the reality is this. When you take what's in your house outside of your house, what's in your house may get better. It may become beautiful. It may be awesome later on. But guess what? People will never forget it. They'll never forget that story you told them. They'll never forget you sharing your problems. They'll never forget you getting stuff off your chest. They'll never forget that. And so you and old Slim, y'all could be doing good. And guess what? Your family looking at them like this. Look at them. Like they don't know. Like we forgot what they did. Like we forgot what she did. We forgot what he did. We forgot what they said. Because of something you said. Because of something you had to get off your chest. And so you don't understand the importance of shutting your mouth.
Yeah. And you got to know when to shut it and when to share it.
Yes.
Because that statement can be good on one hand and not so good on the other hand.
Correct.
It depends on circumstance, situations, and what's going on. Because there are times where we've heard that said, and you should be sharing, and it's things that you should be sharing. So we're not saying, just want to make that clear that it can be good on one side and not so good. Just always depends on what.
But I'm not talking about.
I know you're talking about.
I'm talking about with the intentions. This is what I'm talking about with the intention because some sharing is necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm talking about the sharing with the intent to tear a person down because you just mad.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just angry.
Yes.
Because you just don't like something.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
Because you got people that just have that mindset. They don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where the immaturity comes out in a person, because just because you're mad or angry, it doesn't give you the right to just say stuff.
That's why the Bible
Not
says,
only
be
not
angry and
take
sin
it
not.
out, outside of the house, but just saying even within, because you mad, you want to say negative, mean things to your spouse, or you want to say negative and mean things to the children. No. In fact, when you're angry, that's a time to be quiet, because you're going to end up saying things that you should not say. And the unfortunate part about that is that you can't take those words back. And you might forget that you may have said something, but if it's negative to that person, they're not going to forget it.
And watch this, baby. Not only that, you have to really know how people hear.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
in anger, you can say something and they hear something totally different. You may not even have said that, but they heard anger. And that anger spoke something to them opposite of what you were saying. So you just have to be, but again, that's the sexy part that I saw. I saw her being able to control that narrative so that she wouldn't have to try to come and play clean up. Because too many people playing clean up. That's why we're talking about this right here. Children jealous of the new spouse or the children. This is typically the most common problem in blended families. This right here, children jealous of new spouses or children, is typically the most common problem in blended families. Children often become instantly upset and jealous of the time spent on the new family members.
And I think with that though, it could also be dependent upon the age, because you can have a young child that's 2 or 3 years old, don't even know what jealousy really is, in a sense of, you know what I mean? So, because most children just want to be loved.
Correct.
So they don't care whether it's one extra child, or 10 extra children. They love, children, or love to play, just love being among. Now, as they get older, if they're older, it can become, jealousy, or at a younger age, they can be taught jealousy.
Correct.
So it's different,
correct,
depending upon age as well.
Correct.
I just want to throw that in there.
Oh, listen, bring it in, because we always want to make sure that we give it clear narratives. And there's just not this one side of what we're saying. There are many sides of what we're saying. We just like to bring
out different
insight and enlightenment to what you're dealing with. Because a lot of times people are dealing with stuff and they don't even know. It's like having an illness. You know something wrong. How many times have people known something was wrong with their bodies and didn't take the time to go to the doctor? Didn't take the time to go to the doctor. They could have done something. They could have moved, but they didn't. They know they were having symptoms. Couldn't hold food down. Couldn't have proper bowel movements. Some other stuff they couldn't do. But instead of going to the doctor and identifying what the ailment was, they just kept going through it. And so many times we've seen people go through things and not identify what it is. You know it ain't right. You know it's stopping your growth, your progression. It's stopping the love flow in your home, but you won't identify what it is. And because you won't identify what it, you steadily dying, day by day. Things are digressing instead of progressing. And so understand this, man, that this is sometimes expected. Sometimes it can be completely normal and not something to be angry about at all. Why? Because, hey, man, listen, all of us like time spent. Right. All of us, listen, I love spending time with my wife, then there's times I don't want to spend time with her. Long as we're in the same house together, I'm good. I don't got to be up under her all the time. What?
No.
What you guys say?
Nothing.
What's all this I feel over here?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Hold up.
I ain't saying nothing.
Did y'all feel that?
I ain't saying nothing.
Woof. I felt something on that one. Yeah. No, but really though, everybody likes time. They love attention. When people say they don't like attention, guess what? That's because they're not getting none. That's the only reason you make it.
But you do have some people that like to not like attention all the time, but
that's not what I said. I said people that say they don't like attention. Yeah. They lying. They saying that because they've had to convince themselves of that because they're not getting it. Mm-hmm. And so that just became their new norm. And so that's what they've adopted. But there are many reasonable methods of controlling and alleviating this problem. Making sure that all children involved have plenty of alone time and attention from their parents will go a long way. This is important, man. Just make sure the kids get some alone time. Stop having all these together activities and start sprinkling in some one-on-one activities. Because sometimes that older child just may want to talk. That middle child just may want to talk. Right. That younger child just may want to talk. They just may want to spend time watching a show, watch a TV show, watch a movie. They just may want to go for a ride with you. Right. But if everything you're doing gotta always be everybody, then guess what? There are going to be some things come about. Right. Right. Because everybody likes a little one-on-one time. Mm-hmm. And so we want to talk. We wanted to talk about that. Then we're talking about. Go ahead.
A spouse is jealous of attention given to the children.
Oh man, this one right here is huge. Spouse is jealous of the attention given to the children. Mm-hmm. I played that role. I was so stupid playing that role, and it wasn't even. It was that. Yeah. I wanted that attention. Mm-hmm. I wanted that attention and not understanding or not being mature enough to say, hey, dude, them her babies. She got to spend time with them. She got to go out with them. She got to do things. They're young ladies. These are critical times in their life where they need their mother to be active in their life. And so if you're taking up all the time and the job is taking up all the time, and the other activities that you guys are involved with taking all the time, then guess what? It leaves them nothing. Yeah. It leaves the kids nothing. And you're wondering why kids are choosing outside influences only because you're not using your influence in the house. You're not maximizing that. And it took me a minute to catch on to that.
A long minute.
Yes. Because to some people, a minute is like seconds. Right. To others, minutes are like hours. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely correct. A long minute to get that understanding. But because I'm a seeker of understanding, it wasn't hard to get.
Yeah, and it's better when you see that, to try to get that fixed right away. But all that that comes with counseling, though. You know, all those are things that needed to be discussed prior to.
Oh man!
You know, anybody that's getting married and you bring in different two families together to combine one. It's a lot of things that need to be discussed.
Yes.
And that's one of them. That's one of them, because if you have a single parent, whether it be the mother or father, because hey, it goes both ways. You got a lot of single fathers out today too, and then remarrying. You got to, when you bring them together, you got to remember that one spouse, that they have been in the house with, the children's been in the house with that one spouse for a period of time. Like, with me, it has been like pretty much like 7-8 years that it was just us. So,
and you develop a routine.
Routine, and it's just me and them, them and me and them and me, them and me and them, so when you came along, for them, it was like, almost like I'll say interruption.
No, it was a serious interruption.
But it was, and it wasn't so much of an interruption where they just was like, oh, now he's here. It was the way that you came into the picture.
Yeah, that was what I'm saying. It was a serious interruption. Yeah. It was a halt.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a slam on brakes.
Right. But again, with counseling, things can it teach you how to do A, B, C, and D in, the blended family. So.
Yeah, because it's funny, man, because a lot of times, you'll hear people, talk about topics like we're talking about, and you don't hear the rough part. Mm-hmm. Now everybody's experience is different. Yeah. Let's be clear. But come on, man, let's be for real. You got people. And whenever you got people that's other than yourself, there's some stuff. Because you can only control you, and they can only control them. And everybody's not on the same playing field. Everybody's not on the same wavelength. So there are going to be some things that come about that if you don't share this stuff, because there's people listening and watching right now that's like, oh man, I can identify with that. Mm-hmm. That was us. You absolutely correct. That was you. We just want to make sure it's not so many people following you.
Right.
Because everybody didn't make it out of what we made it out of. Mm-hmm. It was some people that got married right before COVID, got divorced in COVID. It was some people that walked in COVID, married for years, in the midst of COVID, walked away. Why? How is that so? How is it that you're in something and then you just walk out of it? Because there's some things that you aren't identifying. There's some things you aren't being truthful about. And when the rubber meets the road, guess what? Now that's when the burn starts. And people are seeing some things that, guess what? We should have talked about this before we got into it. Mm-hmm. There were times when we sat and like, oh, we should have had this discussion. we should have had this counsel. We in it to win it, but man, we knew, oh man, we missed this one. Because guess what? I love you ain't always good enough. You know what I'm saying? I love you. Okay, but you might love them, but you're going to find out real quick that you don't like them. You'll find out real quick, I love you, but I don't really like you. I didn't know I ain't really like you until now. I love you though. I really love it. How many times people say that though? They love a person, but they realize, man, I don't really like that person. You know why you realize that? Because you got this time with them. Some things came out that should have came out before you went down the aisle, before you stood before the preacher, the minister, the justice of the peace, or whoever, and you exchange those vows. And so it's important because guess what? If you don't deal with that, these jealousies are going to be there. They're going to be there. I had no understanding of the need for that time. That's where that came in at. Because of my lack of understanding. That's why the scripture says, in all you're getting, get what?
Understanding.
Get understanding. Let me say something. In everything you do, you have to get understanding. You got on your job, you got understanding. You wanted to learn how to drive a car, you got understanding. You had to understand how traffic lights work. You had to understand traffic patterns. You had to understand traffic signs. You had to understand brakes, accelerator, gasoline. You had to understand a whole lot of things before you got that license. You had to understand, in most states, you had to understand parking. So in all you get, man, you got to get understanding. It's important to get that understanding. Because understanding will alleviate jealousies. Because you know how to handle those things. Difficult relationships with the other parent. Oh, this is a big one right here. Difficult relationships with the other parent. Because we've been there. We've been there. I'm going to tell you, there are monumental times in my life. Monumental times in my life. First being I was born. That was monumental. Until the earth, the child was born. Until the earth, the child was given. That was me. That was monumental. The other monumental time was me being able to walk and play like other kids. That was monumental. That was monumental. The other monumental time was me graduating high school. That was monumental. Not that it was a concern, but I did it. It just was huge for me. I mean, anybody that knew me in school, you know, I was part of the group that we were cool nerds. There were nerds, and then there were us. And we were smarter than the nerds. we was hood. So we knew how to be on both sides. Then the other monumental thing was my son being born. That was monumental. Next monumental thing was me marrying my wife. Monumental. Then the next monumental thing after that, sweetheart, was my son turning 19. You're saying, why is it that it was monumental when your son turned 19? It was monumental because I did not have to deal with his mother anymore. That was monumental. That was my story. But it's real. I can't sit up here and act like it was something that it wasn't. No, that was listen, it was so monumental. Something I should do every year on my birthday. What would I do every year?
Go to IHOP. You would go to IHOP and have breakfast.
How would I have breakfast?
What you mean? How would you have it?
How would I have it?
Your pancake? By yourself.
By myself.
I said you would go to IHOP.
I would go every year.
I
would go to IHOP and have breakfast. I did that for my birthday every year. That it was without fail. Didn't care who laughed at me. Didn't care who talking about me. I did not care. I would celebrate me over some flapjacks. That's what I was doing.
That's what you did every year.
But I'm gonna tell you guys something right here. When my son turned 19, I felt like I was listening to Prince. Because I partied like it was 1999. I partied like it was 1999. Why? Because of the difficult relationship that I had with his mother. And it wasn't that it could not have been, but it was. Because I can only control my part. I can only control my responses and my reactions. And so when he got to that point where I did not have to deal with it anymore, I didn't. I think I gained 10 years back in life. I mean, I felt so rejuvenated, so invigorated, so youthful. Man, listen, I can just be honest with you guys. It's the only way I know how to do it with you. But it's important because some of you are dealing with difficult relationships. In this thing, it's causing a lot of unnecessary friction. It's causing a whole lot of unnecessary things that's generating jealousies amongst the children because of their actions. You know how many letters, how many texts I got talking about you care more about somebody else's kids than you care about me? Really? Where'd you get that from? Who told you that? Oh. Somebody that made a choice, somebody that made a life decision, but it didn't work out the way they thought it was going to work out. Now they're mad because my choice and my decision worked out better for me. So now, because that's what happened with a lot of people. You've made a decision and a choice to walk away, to move on. Some was merited, some wasn't. But for whatever reason, don't get mad at the other party because their life is better than yours. You make your own life. You do what you got to do to be better in life. It's like we were talking about. I don't know if you guys heard the story where I'm not going to say the artist's name, but there was an artist that recently got divorced, and it was a flip side thing. She was the entertainer, and her husband wasn't the entertainer. And so, man, this is like one of the biggest. This happened to be one of the biggest suits in history as far as divorce goes.
Okay.
Alimony and child support. And so this cat got 200. He get $200,000 a month.
Almost 300. I think it's almost 300.
Well, he gets another 50. He gets $200,000, over $200,000.
Sure heard the story.
They haven't anyway. This guy gets over $200,000 a month in child support. No, in alimony. Then they have children. Mm-hmm. He gets another $50,000 on top of that in child support. Mm-hmm. People saying, what? Yes. Now, understand this, guys. They built a lifestyle for their children. Mm-hmm. We always look at things when it's on the other shoe, but guess what? Now it's not. And the rules still apply. You can't take children from a lifestyle in one home and then expect them to go to poverty in another home. How selfish of you. How selfish of you to want your child to go somewhere that's not as prosperous or even more prosperous than where you are. Yeah. And people do it all the time. You got guys don't want to do for their kids because they don't want to pay child support because she got a whole nother man at home. Dude, what does that have to do with your child? Nothing. You should want your child to be in a better predicament, a better position in life. Why would you want your child to leave your house where you giving them steak and you giving them this and you're giving them that, and they go home and eat oodles and noodles, Pop-Tarts, peanut butter and jelly, mayonnaise sandwiches. What's the other stuff you make back in the hood? Mayonnaise sandwiches, banana sandwiches. Oh, see, I grew up in the hood, man. Rice with ketchup, you know what I'm saying? We did it all.
We had tomato sandwiches.
Tomato sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really. But people had that selfish mindset. And so, listen, even though there are difficulties with the other relationship or the other parent, that does not mean you don't want the best. My prayer was always this, and this is still my prayer today. Bless her. Enlarge her territory, increase her borders. Why? Because that's my son's mother.
Absolutely.
I'm going to always, until ashes to ashes and dust to dust, I'm going to always want the best for her. Why? Because that's my son's mother. Yep. Period. She carried my seed, birthed them into the earth, and raised them. Why wouldn't I want the best? And you out here beefing, no, I'm saying, but you out here beefing with the spouse of the other parent when you should be wanting the best. They the only ones can live their life, but you still keep your attitude right. The reason why I didn't suffer in life is because I made sure I prayed for her. I made sure I wanted the best for her. What she did, she was responsible for. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want coming back to me what I can control. Yes.
Yes, Miss JoJo. How you doing, sweetie?
Enlarge their territory. Because watch this. When their territory is enlarged, your territory becomes enlarged. Yes. When their territory is enlarged because of your prayers, because of your intercession, because you're standing in the gap for them, guess what? You're going to be the recipient of that.
Absolutely.
Because doors are going to open up for you that's going to allow you to increase. That's going to allow you to grow. Man, we've experienced some things over our years that's just been mind-blowing. because we kept the right posture in the right position.
Absolutely.
It's sad though, there's still a lot of drama from other parents in many new blended families. Custody, custody, visitation disputes top the charts. Let them folks see their kids, man. Stop fighting that stuff. Listen, just because your relationship didn't work doesn't mean they don't have a right to have a good relationship.
With their parent. That's right.
Just because things didn't go the way you thought they should have gone or you wanted them to go does not mean that every child needs their mother and every child needs their father. They need the both of you because they are the sum product of the both of you. They are the product of the both of you. They need you. And so when you're trying to keep that child from that person, when you're trying to bad talk that person and down that person, understand not only are you damaging that person, but you're damaging that child. Because that part of that child, that them, is what you're tearing down. It's like sometimes when I'm talking to my girls, it is so hilarious. Because at times when I'm talking to my girls, I can only see their father. It is so hilarious because this dude is super intelligent. I mean, he one of the smartest dudes you're gonna meet. And so when I'm talking to them, and it's like, and they're saying stuff, and I'm laughing to myself, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's your daddy. It is so funny because I gotta catch myself so I don't. They're like, what you laughing about? So I gotta hold it in until I finish the conversation with him. I'll go in the other room and I'll just start laughing because it shows me how much of him they are, how much of him they carry on, and you guys got to be careful with that. We made sure to nurture that. Mm-hmm. We made sure, man, to cover that because they're gonna, as the children get older, as they mature, as they grow, as they move on, if things aren't right, they'll understand, they'll see. Right. But it's not your job to tear that person down. Exactly. It's not your job to belittle that person. It's only your job to build that person up. Let that child make the decision and the choice of how they want to view that person.
And I go the same for not only that biological parent, but the same for that the spouse that that biological parent married. It's not your responsibility to try to tear down that that blended parent either. You know, because sometimes you have where a spouse is, you know, saying negative stuff about that blended parent, or, you know, you're trying to make want the relationship to not be good with those children and that new spouse.
Ain't nobody else gonna be a father to my child. Ain't nobody else gonna be the mother to my child.
And I look at it like, if this is the person that spouse, you know, that ex married, why wouldn't you want to try to have
the best relationship possible?
Yeah, I mean, you ain't got to be best friends, but at least be able to be mature and have a decent relationship. Because I'm like this: if my ex is married and my children are going into the home that they live in, I want to have a good relationship so that you can treat my children properly. I don't want to send them to somewhere where that person, don't like me, or I'm or I'm concerned or worried about, okay, what's going on while they're there.
And the point on that, I mean, we'll jump in that, sweetheart, is most people concerned because for real, that's them. You concerned because you evil and you're manipulative and you're jealous and you're trying to project that onto someone else because you don't want to be honest about you. So if you can get the child or others to look at that person in a negative light, it's going to take the spotlight off of you. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you guys the story. I remember, it was about 7 years ago. My middle daughter, she was having this Christmas Eve dinner, And she did it for a couple of years. Well, on Christmas Eve, she would invite family and friends over, and she would give gifts. I mean, she would share gifts, and I think we would bring something, and but what we brought, it was like a giveaway, right?
It was when she was doing the white Christmas. Everybody bring a gift, and then you exchange it.
Yes, yes.
I think that's what it's called, white Christmas or whatever. I forget the name of it, but everybody bring a gift, and you draw numbers, and you pick, and you can take the person's gift, whatever that name of the game is.
And so this particular Christmas Eve, the girl's biological father and I were there, and we pretty much at all events anyway. But this particular one, she felt the need to do an introduction. Mm-hmm. And so everybody know Madeline. You know, this is Madeline. Everybody know her. She internationally known. Everybody know this.
Don't be jealous.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody know it. Like I'm just her husband. And so she introduced Madeline. They laughing like, "Yeah, we know your mama." Then she asked the biological father and myself to stand, and she started with him, and she was like, "This is dad number one." And before she could finish the sentence, he stopped her. And he was like, "No, we both number one." Now, this is the biological father speaking. Mm-hmm. This is the biological father speaking. Stopped her in her tracks and said, "No, that's not how this is going down. We both number one." Why? He didn't have to say that, but he understood the importance of saying it. Because we both vowed to live a life before them that we were going to be number one. There weren't going to be any, I'm this and he's that, he's this and I'm that. No, we're number one. My voice is just as important as his voice. His voice is just as important as my voice. And so that's important to understand, guys. That takes away those difficulties because they know they can come to the both of us. It's no, I can talk to him, but I can't talk to him.
Right.
No. Right. Why? Because listen, I went to this man and said, "Hey, listen, I ain't trying to take your place." Believe that, bro. I'm not trying to take your place, but I will be honored if you allow me to assist. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to be the number one scorer. I wanted to be the point guard. I wanted to dish. I wanted to get the assist. That's how I wanted to play the position. Now I can shoot, but I can pass. And that's what I wanted to do in this family. I wanted to be the one to facilitate. That's my role. It's always been, that's my role now. I'm the facilitator. And so I took the difficulty out of that. Mm-hmm. That's what you guys gonna have to do, man. Get along with the ex-spouse or the other parent can be rocky at best, but try to keep the focus on the kids. It's the best method. Yeah. Keep the focus on the kids, man. Yeah. When you keep the focus on the kids, because I understood that just like my relationship was over, their relationship was over. So it wasn't about that dynamic anymore. It was about these kids. What are we going to show them? Are we going to show them people that's constantly bickering, constantly fighting, right, constantly trying to tear each other down? Or are we going to show them a unified front? Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. Then we got a couple more minutes. Well,
yeah, we got a few more minutes.
House to house jealousy. And I talked about that. House to house jealousy, man. This is big, guys. There's a show that we watched the other night, and one of the couples, they're a blended family. One of the couples, the father and the ex-wife were jointly raising the son. Mm-hmm. And the son got to a certain age, and the father was like, "Hey, this is that critical time in life, and you've done an awesome job. But I believe it's of the utmost importance that he live with me now." Mm-hmm. Not saying that you haven't done a great job, because you have, and the proof is in the pudding. but there's some things that he need from me right now that he just need to be around me. Mm-hmm. And so they worked it out where, now the son is living with the father. And I thought that was so commendable. But what I wanted to touch on was this right here. This dude went so far as to, because he wanted to give his son the best life, he went so far as to front the son's mother and her husband money to move to the town where he was living. Who doing that? That's big boy stuff. He wanted that thing to be so good. He said, listen, man, I moved on, you moved on. I'm happy, you happy, but we got to make sure he's good. Yeah. And literally put up the money for them to buy their home in his town. Mm-hmm. Why do you want, again, why would you want your child to be good in this place, but not good in that? Yeah. Let me say that again. Why would you want your child to be good in this place, but not good in that? Mm-hmm. Listen, it's a lot we got to talk about, but it's jealousy, man. But we just want to just share on tonight, because there's so many people that are dealing with this. We've heard it. We've been married 24 years. Yeah. It ain't too much we haven't heard. Yep. It's not. And so us sharing this is because we've heard it. It's still yet hearing it. And when is the change gonna come, man? When you gonna man up? When you gonna woman up? Why you just can't want the best for that child? Right. Those children. Listen, if you're thinking about getting in a blended family, seek some counseling. Right, absolutely. Don't just talk to a regular counselor. Talk to a counselor that specializes in blended families, multiple families. Somebody that understands the dynamics and the nuances and all of these moving parts, because everybody don't understand this. And the problem is you're talking to people that have no understanding of an area that you need understanding in. And you're getting wrong information, and you're trying to apply something to a situation that doesn't suit where you are. Right. And so if you get ready to enter into a blended family, listen, we admonish you.
And if you're already in one and you have an issue,
we admonish you.
Yeah.
Just seek some counseling.
Not only in the marriage, but within the whole family, the children.
Personally.
Get everybody involved.
Personally, because most people nowadays are byproducts of blended families. Yeah. So not only are you you're entering in a blended family, but you are the product of a blended family. Mm-hmm. And so if you haven't dealt with that past, then you're making a pass. Yeah. Let me say that. If you haven't dealt with that past, you're making a pass. What do you mean? You're passing on some stuff that you shouldn't pass on. Right. Behaviors, ideals, ideologies, innuendo, all these different things, because they all cover all of that. And you're just passing stuff on in this new family, and you're wondering why it's not a success. Wondering why it's an epic failure. Why? Because you didn't take the time to seek and get understanding. Yes. Listen, guys, this has been good to me. Yeah, I know that we had a storm run through here, and the power went out, and we were able to get back on. But we just wanted to take this time to talk about jealousy in a blended family, because there's so much more that we can share and want to share, but our time is not. And so we thank you all for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. Close out.
And you can reach us via email at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. And our website is intheblenderministries.com. Also, don't forget to tune in on Thursday nights for a replay. You can listen to it on WJMS Radio. You can also catch us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Is it SoundCloud? Yeah, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all the social media outlets. We're there under In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. So, but thank you guys again for tuning in and always supporting us. Again, our email is weareablendedfamily@gmail.com, and our website is intheblenderministries.com. Also, if you would like to be a part of In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman, send us an email. We're always open for wisdom, more wisdom, dropped on these shows. If you've in a blended family or been in a blended family, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, because we got some good stuff coming. We got some good stuff coming. So we thank you guys again. We love you.
Love you. Love you, Miss JoJo.
Bye-bye.
Good night.